From the beautiful Finger Lakes region of upstate New York, this is the Dental Lighthouse Podcast. We take questions from anyone in the dental profession and discuss what it takes to win not only in dentistry, but in life. Business, leadership, relationships, parenting, health and wellness, money management, nothing is off limits on the Dental Lighthouse Podcast. I'm Jason Tenori, your host, and have over 20 years of experience to pull from. Learn from my mistakes and let me help you collapse time so you can become the best version of yourself. Yo, Dr. Jason here, Dental Lighthouse Podcast. It is a beautiful Monday morning in upstate New York, and I'm excited to spend some time talking to you guys. As you know, I love to share some thoughts of things that are relevant in my life when it comes to our coaching platform. And the concept that I want to unpack with you guys today has been very relevant from conversations with my one-on-one clients, from conversations in our 8-week servant leadership program that we're in the middle of, and then even in the group coaching platform, this has been relevant. So let me just unpack it at a high level, and then I'll get granular with this concept of the rallying cry. And that's really what I want to talk about here. So in my world, the way that I run my organization, the way that I coach others is that people need to know if they're winning or not. They need to understand what is winning so they can measure themselves against that. And the example that I constantly always go back to is pickup basketball. I used to play a ton of pickup basketball and I absolutely loved it. And one of the reasons that I loved it is there was no ambiguity with winning. You would get on the court and your job with your other 4 teammates was to score more points than the other team. If you did that, you were winning. And when you had that clarity with winning, then it was very easy to help keep your teammates accountable. For example, if I made a pass to someone on my team and they had an open shot and they were a good shooter, but they didn't take the shot, I could easily go to that person and say, hey, we're trying to win. And in doing so, you need to take that shot. You're a good shooter. You're open. I need you to take that shot. I was keeping that person accountable to what they were supposed to do in order to help us win. Another example is if I was playing defense against someone and I got a pick or screen from the other team and I didn't see the screen, I didn't feel the pick, I would then tell my teammates, hey, teammates, you need to tell me that a pick is coming. You need to tell me that a screen is coming, because if you don't communicate that to me, I'm not aware of it and my guy is going to get by me. Again, why was I having that accountability conversation? Because I needed to do so in order to get to our ultimate goal of winning. So for the longest time, I thought to myself, how can I take this to running a dental practice? How could I figure out a way to communicate winning to my team? Well, the obvious answer is with the numbers, right? Revenue and profitability and production and new patients and all this stuff. And that's true. And you need to have clear goals when it comes to numbers or data. But many people in our organizations are not driven by numbers. I'm sure you have people in your organization that almost gloss over when you talk about numbers. And I used to get upset by that. But as I've gotten older and everyone else around me has gotten younger, I've realized that instead of fighting that battle, instead of forcing numbers down people's throats, there's just certain people that are wired by numbers and certain people that are not. So when I look at winning on a daily basis or as an organization, are numbers part of it? Yes, we have 3 components to winning, and data or numbers is definitely part of that equation. Another part of the equation is what we call the winning statement, and we talk about that on another podcast. But the middle part of this is what we call the rallying cry. So again, winning in our world and how I coach is having success with the data, having success with the winning statement, and then for the purposes of this recording, having success with the rallying cry. So what is the rallying cry? Well, the rallying cry is a Patrick Lencioni concept that talks about a team rallying behind something for 3, 4, 5, 6 months. And what are they trying to rally behind? They are trying to focus on the most important thing right now. So ask yourself as an owner, or even if you're a hygienist listening to this or an associate doctor, ask yourselves in regards to your particular office, what is the absolute most important thing right now? And it's going to be extremely different for each of you. For example, I have multiple locations in our organization, and we're in the process of doing our quarterly meetings over the last week and in the coming weeks. And I've done 3 quarterly meetings so far, and all 3 offices have extremely different rallying cries. Basically, what that is saying is all 3 offices have very different things that are the most important thing right now. And there's an emphasis on the most important thing because of the classic adage, when everything is important, then nothing is. When everything's a priority, then nothing is. So are things important other than the most important thing? Yes. So for example, is collecting money important? Absolutely. Is the patient experience important? Absolutely. Is treatment planning comprehensively and performing a great clinical standard important? Absolutely. Is morale important? Absolutely. So all of these things are important, but there can only be one thing that's the most important. So what you need to do as an office is identify what is the absolute most important thing right now for this office. What do we need to focus on over the next 3, 4, 5, 6 months that if we're able to accomplish said thing, if we're able to tackle said thing, then we will be in a much, much better position moving forward. And I'll just give you some examples of what I've experienced over the last couple of weeks in running these quarterly meetings. So I have one office that is in the process of transitioning into a bigger space, right? There's a lot of nervous energy about it. How is it going to be laid out? What about the computers? Is it going to be hard for patients to find? Blah, blah, blah. Right now, the most important thing on this office's mind, on this team's mind, is a seamless transition from the current location to the new location. And I agree with that office. Now, I'm always allowing the office or the team members of the office to come up with a rallying cry, and I can try to help the conversation, or I can try, based on my experience, I can try to coach them up on where I feel like it should go. But more often than not, they get it right on their own. So if the most important thing for this particular office is transitioning from the current office to the new office in the coming months, what specifically needs to happen to allow that most important thing to come to fruition? Or said a different way, on a day-to-day basis, on a moment-to-moment basis, what needs to be occurring to make sure that what we've agreed upon is the most important thing actually comes to fruition? And to answer that question, we come up with what we call defining objectives. So defining objectives are the 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 things that absolutely have to happen in order for us to reach the most important thing, in order for us to accomplish this rallying cry. So let's pivot a little bit here with an analogy. If the most important thing for you personally is your overall health, let's say things have gotten a little out of control, you've gained some weight, you've made some bad habits when it comes to certain things. Maybe it's a combination of your physical health and your emotional health. But you've ultimately decided that the most important thing for you as an individual over the next 3, 4, 5 months is to get healthier. I am going to get healthier. That's the most important thing. Okay. Now that's what we would call the rallying cry. But at a moment to moment basis, at a granular level, at a tactical level, what specifically needs to happen for you to get healthy. Well, it could be any number of things. Now, what's important to you? It could be something like, I will eat in a slight calorie deficit, um, 7 days a week. I will meal prep my meals on Sunday. I will limit myself to processed foods only once a day. I'm sorry, once a week, and eat whole foods the rest of the time. Like, so one of these defining objectives could be around your diet. Another defining objective could be around exercise and movement. Now, it could be something as simple as, I will start to walk 10,000 steps a day. Or if you're already quite active, I will do resistance and strength training 3 days a week, or I will do zone 2 training 3 days a week. Again, whatever it is, you're going to have to ultimately come up with the defining objectives that are going to lead to your ultimate rallying cry. A third defining objective for this person who's trying to get healthier could be something in the emotional or mental space. I will have a 30-minute morning routine that allows for gratitude journaling, meditation, and box breathing. I will take a 30-minute walk with my spouse 3 times a week, and a 15-minute walk with each of my children every week, if you're trying to get relationally healthy. So once you have this overarching goal, I'm trying to get healthier, then you get into the specifics, the defining objectives that you will need to accomplish to allow this overarching goal to come to fruition. And then either on a daily or weekly basis, you're reviewing each of your defining objectives and making sure that you're doing what you have already agreed upon needs to be done in order to hit this overarching goal. The same exact thing is true in a dental office. So in the example that I gave earlier, if the most important thing is transitioning from the current office to this new office, then what are the defining objectives that need to occur in order for that to happen? Well, the first defining objective could be making sure the new space is completely laid out in a way that we're familiar with, right? So that could be a lot of conversations with contractors and designers and stuff like that. Another defining objective could be, how are we communicating the location change to the patient base? So via emails and snail mail and social media and stuff like that. Another defining objective could be, how are we going to best utilize this space to take our practice from good to great? And you'll have 3 or 4 things there. So once you have these defining objectives outlined at your weekly meetings, there's a section in the meeting agenda that talks specifically about the rallying cry. So the leader of the office would say, okay, now it's time to talk about our rallying cry of moving into this new space. The first defining objective was making sure the layout and the design and the aesthetics of the new location are perfect. And we decided that these were the 3 or 4 things that need to happen in order to define success. So how are we doing with those things? What's occurring? Give me a status update on these specific things. And then you would vote. We traditionally do a red, yellow, green. You vote on each of these defining objectives. Then you go to the next one. Then you go to the next one. So again, going back to our trying to get healthy situation, on a daily or weekly basis, you and your accountability partner are saying, okay, my first defining objective was to eat in a calorie deficit, primarily whole foods, only processed foods, once or twice a week. How am I doing on that? And you just be honest with yourself, and you would grade yourself, and then you would move on to the next defining objective. So for me, this concept of a rallying cry is such a game changer when we're looking to really focus on the absolute most important thing right now. Now, I mentioned I had 3 quarterly meetings last week, and all 3 all 3 offices chose a different rallying cry. Like I've already mentioned, the first office said that their rallying cry is going to be, perfection in terms of transitioning from the current space to the new space. Had another office that actually just did that, they're in a brand new space. They're now fully staffed, 2 doctors, 4 hygienists, fully staffed at the front desk. So when we were talking at their quarterly meeting, okay, what's the most important thing for this office right now? Almost, what's the word I'm looking for? Almost everyone unanimously, I can't believe I couldn't think of the word unanimously. Almost unanimously, they said, we want to up our new patient numbers. They were averaging about 20 new patients a week, 15 to 20 new patients a week. And they felt that now that they're fully staffed and all the operatories are fully outfitted in this new space, we could go from good to great if we ramped up our new patient numbers. So the rallying cry was something along the lines of, getting more patients in the door. So again, that's all warm and fuzzy, getting more new patients in the door. But again, what specifically needs to happen in order to get more new patients in the door? Those are the defining objectives. So we decided the defining objectives for this rallying cry, there was going to be an emphasis on internal marketing and all that's associated with internal marketing. There was going to be emphasis on social media. There was going to be an emphasis on external marketing. There was going to be an emphasis on a postcard program. There was going to be an emphasis on a referral giveaway with, I think they're doing like some type of big Blackstone grill or something like that. We've given out like Yetis and canoes and all stuff like that. But there's a buzz now because the team has agreed that this is the most important thing now, getting new patients in the door. The team has agreed on these defining objectives. So they're committing to these defining objectives. And now on a weekly basis, when the leader of that office is talking about the rallying cry, they'll say, okay, where are we at now with our internal marketing strategy? We've committed to these 3 or 4 things from an internal marketing perspective. How are they going? How are we doing? Are we killing it? Are we trending in the right direction? Are we stagnant? Do we need work? And then again, if you have trust and vulnerability amongst the team at team meetings, we'll be able to speak up and say, oh, yeah, this is going amazing. Or, we're losing steam on this. We need to get kind of re-energized on this particular defining objective. And then just one more example. Like I said, I've done 3 quarterly meetings so far. Our flagship office, we had our quarterly meeting a couple of weeks ago. The office is fully staffed. We have more new patients than we know what to do with. But through a really transparent and vulnerable conversation, the leadership team at this office said, we really should create an emphasis on getting back to basics. Basically, what separated us from other offices in the area from an aspect of customer service, from the little things that we did, from how we talk to patients, from our relationships with patients. So their most important thing now, what they wanted to create this huge emphasis on was getting back to how things used to be from a high level of interaction with the patient. It's little things that as time goes on and as new people come on, you tend to lose the details, right? So, for example, insisting that each clinical team member have a conversation with the patient when they're in the chair about something that's going on outside of their dentistry, right? And then documenting that in the chart so the next person that sees this patient a week or 2 or 6 months later can say, hey, I see here in the notes that your daughter got married in July. How'd that go? That's what separates us. Little things like that. As we grow, we have to be super intentional about systems like that. And we kind of fallen off the wagon a little bit. So what an opportunity. The most important thing for this particular office right now was to get back to basics. And I think what they actually labeled the rallying cry is, this is how we do it. So for my flagship office, they're going to over communicate on a daily and weekly basis. This is how we do it. These are the defining objectives in terms of how we do it. And our new standard, the most important thing right now in terms of this is how we do it, is this. So I really, really, really am a huge proponent of the rallying cry. Sometimes I explain it in ways that don't land well, and clients will try to utilize it and it falls flat. If you're needing help on developing a rallying cry, please don't hesitate to reach out to me via email or text message. My contact information is on our website, dentallighthouse.com. But if you want some resources from the author itself, Patrick Lencioni, there's excerpts in his book, The Advantage, about the rallying cry. And then he wrote another book, I believe it's called Turf Wars, Silos, and Politics, or something like that, where they talk about the rallying cry. It's just such a game changer. It's such a great way to get the entire team involved. We're technically an EOS office. For those of you guys that don't know what EOS is, it's Entrepreneur Operating System, which is Gino Wickman's baby from the book Traction. And they talk about rocks. And we were an office that did rocks for a number of years. But what I didn't love about rocks is it created silos. So everybody would have an individual rock that they would be responsible for tackling. But there was, and I probably managed it poorly, but there was a lack of teamwork and camaraderie towards a common goal because everybody was basically working in silos, doing their individualized rocks. So we moved away from that about 5 years ago and moved to this concept of the rallying cry and haven't looked back. So it's just a really, really great concept for teamwork. It's a really, really great concept when you're truly believing in the adage that when everything is important, then nothing is. So if you needed to identify one specific thing that is the most important thing right now, you can create a rallying cry to focus on that. And just in closing of this recording, I'll give you some other examples of things that could be rallying cries for you based on your own, lived experience. So how's your collection percentage? Okay. Is it 100%? If it's not, if it's in the low to mid 90s, your rallying cry could be kind of getting recalibrated on how to collect the money. How's your case acceptance? Right? Case acceptance is the ultimate team sport. If your case acceptance is not what you want it to be, then the rallying cry would be focused on increasing case acceptance. And again, just to use case acceptance as an example, there's so many different defining objectives that could be associated with an increase in case acceptance. It could be stuff from the non-clinical provider. It could be stuff from the clinical provider. It could be things like limiting the amount of options that you're offering. It could be things like actively working on your listening skills. It could be any number of things. So decide what the most important thing that your office needs to accomplish right now. Maybe it's getting back to, maybe your morale is horrible. Maybe your culture is horrible. Maybe you need to get back to basics on your core values. Like, identify what needs to occur, identify the most important thing right now, and then fight like hell through implementation of a rallying cry on getting to that point. And then once you get to that, once it becomes almost like cruise control, then you put that aside. Still important, right? But you put it to the side and you just assume, okay, we got this one under control. Now we're going to pursue a new rallying cry. And that's just how you go, like every quarter, every 6 months, so on and so forth. So appreciate you listening to this, guys. Hopefully it wasn't too confusing. I'll figure out a way to share some graphics on our current rallying cries with you guys, just so you can kind of see a visual of it. We'll leave that to be downloaded on thedentallighthouse.com. Check it out. If you have any questions or concerns about it, don't hesitate to reach out. Talk to you soon. Thank you. That wraps up another episode of the Dental Lighthouse podcast. You have a choice today. Choose to be a lighthouse. Lighthouses are powerful and steadfast. They are beacons of light for others to reference when life gets turbulent. Go out into the world today and become a lighthouse for someone. Give more than you get. True joy comes from serving others. Start today. I'm Jason Tenori, your host. Thank you for listening to the Dental Lighthouse podcast. For more information, podcast show notes, or links to anything that we have discussed today, please check out our website, thedentallighthouse.com. We would love to hear from you. If you would like to get on the show, please email us at podcast@thedentallighthouse.com.